Input and output manipulation is the most important part of hacking websites and web apps. The two most well-known vulnerabilities, XSS and SQL injection, are the subjects of this section. If the inputs and/or outputs of a website are not adequately validated, they might be the subjects of exploitations. But before we start talking about input and output manipulation, we should understand a few terms and policies first. One of them is same origin policy. A web browser permits scripts contained in a first web page to access data in a second web page, but only if both web pages have the same origin. This policy prevents a malicious script on one page from obtaining access to sensitive data on another web page through that web page's document object model. Thanks to this rule, website A cannot access the session ID of website B. An origin is the combination of protocol used for the communication, entire host name, and port. Let's have a look at a few pages and see if they can access useme.js file. This page can access the useme.js script because of the protocol, host, and port are the same. Remember, if we don't specify the port, the default port is used, and the default port for HTTP protocol is 80. Ports are different. This page cannot access the script resources. The host names are different. Be careful, www.app.com is not the same as app.com. These are two different domains. In most cases, you go straight to the www page, even though you don't put it into the URL. For example, if you write google.com in the address bar of a browser, you reach the www.google.com page. Now, that doesn't mean that these two addresses are the same. That means Google servers redirect you to www.google.com address when you try to reach google.com. And look at that. The ports are different. JavaScript is a high-level interpreted programming language. Alongside HTML and CSS, JavaScript is one of the three core technologies of World Wide Web content production. It is used to make web pages interactive and provide online programs. It's the JavaScript codes that run the browsers. The majority of websites employ it, and all modern web browsers support it without the need for plugins. JavaScript can be used in an HTML file in three different ways. You can write JavaScript codes into a different source file and call it from the HTML page. You can write script codes into the HTML file using script tags. You can write script codes in event handlers. So everything exchanged between the browser and the server are inputs or outputs of the web application, text or edit boxes on the web page, headers of the request sent to the app, hidden fields, or even the header that does not exist in the original request might be an input field for the application. To minimize the risk of threats, one of the most important principles is validation of input and output fields. When the input source is not reliable 100%, the input is not reliable and shouldn't be used inside the system before validating. Client-side input validation is done by scripts, JavaScript, VBScript, etc. The main purpose of client-side controls is the performance. Users are warned about their mistakes before sending their requests to the server. From the security perspective, client-side controls can easily be bypassed. Remember, we are able to intercept the traffic between the browser and the server using personal proxies, for example, Burp Suite. So let's see another way to bypass client-side controls. We leave a message to a friend's guest book, but the max length of the message field is 50. We want to leave a longer message. Right-click, investigate element, and increase max length value. Now, we're able to leave a longer message. So for this reason, client-side controls are good for performance. In addition, server-side controls have got to be done for security reasons. While validating input parameters, we can talk about two different approaches. In the first approach, we have a blacklist. In the second approach, we have a whitelist. The first approach does not allow the inputs which exist in the list. The second approach only allows the inputs which exist in the list. The first approach is called negative data validation, and the second approach is called positive data validation. The first approach, negative data validation, is dangerous, and it's not advised to use. First, the number of malicious inputs are theoretically indefinite. Developers should think of every possible form of the characters, capitalized, encoded, or escaped. Seriously, anything you can think of. Secondly, developers should be careful about the algorithm of the sanitization method. Output validation is as important as input validation. Outputs which are sent to the client should be sanitized just before they're sent by the server. Even if we validate inputs, we should validate outputs as well. The output prepared to be sent to the client on the server side may have turned into a harmful value. Encoding, also known as character escaping, is an effective approach for both input and output validation. If you encode the special characters, they're not going to be interpreted and just printed out. For example, we have a blog, and we would like to publish a post that includes these lines. While testing for XSS, first try this. We prepared this page. Show the page without HTML encoding. When we call the page, we get the message on the screen because script tags are interpreted by the browser and the script runs. If we encode the smaller than character, it's no more a tag starter. It's just a character to print out now. Escape smaller than character, save the file, call it from Firefox, show the result.